Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Unholy Women, a Japanese horror anthology from 2006 that consists of 3 short horror films with a total runtime of 1 hour and 46 minutes. Most fortunately, each of these stories is very different from the others, and we've got some good stuff in this one, so let's go through them. In the first story, titled Rattle Rattle, a young woman is transported to an alternate dimension and chased by a psychotic, wraith-like murderer. This alternate dimension is very similar to an urban area in Tokyo, but it's abandoned, and it has some strange phenomena within it. The fun thing about this short story is that it has a certain goofiness to it that somehow works to create a spooky awkwardness. Some examples would be the weird facial expressions of the evil Lady Wraith, which are definitely goofy. And this kind of old school spookiness, it has a slight aura of cheese. It's something you see in some classic horror movies from back in the day. And I like that some contemporary Japanese horror films use a similar tone, even though some viewers might be turned off by it. But I did enjoy it. It's fun. The lead actress is fun to watch. The non-stop tempo creates a very lean and satisfying experience, and there are some interesting plot turns along the way, although the ending is a bit confusing. Also, I really like the rattling noises that are used when the murderer is in the area. Now, back in the day, this Rattle Rattle segment used to be clipped and posted on websites, separate from the other 2 segments in this anthology, and it seemed to be like perhaps the fan favorite of the bunch back then. And it certainly has the fastest pacing and kind of a popcorn entertainment vibe to it. Fun fact, the director was Keita Amamiya, the same guy who gave us the Zeron movies, both of which I've reviewed on this channel, as well as some fun tokusatsu projects like the Garo franchise. So yeah, if you're a fan of this director and this one slipped past you, it might be worth a watch for that alone, although it's definitely very different than his other stuff. But yeah, I like the first story quite a bit. The second story, Hagane, aka Steel, is an amusing romantic comedy horror film about a guy who is coerced by his boss to go on a blind date with a woman who, for some unknown reason, covers the entire upper half of her body with a potato sack. Could be the worst date ever. Now, this mind-numbingly weird entry is a success in terms of creativity, humor, and a bit of frightfulness. The interaction between the characters is very strange, and it's loaded with black humor. Very oddball and loony stuff, but it's also surprisingly amusing. All of the characters play it straight and serious. They act seriously, despite some of the outrageous things that happen, and that makes the film work even better, and it makes it funnier. This is one of those movies when you're watching it, you'll say to yourself, wait, did that really just happen? It's one of those. And I don't want to get into too much detail because that would spoil the surprises, but there are moments in this movie that I've never seen before in other movies, or at least not exactly. So it gets brownie points for creativity. There is a bit of sensuality and maybe perversion mixed in here, but nothing too crazy. It's also not that scary, but there are some slightly macabre acts of violence to enjoy. I enjoyed the short film very much. Is it my personal favorite of this anthology? Possibly. Fun fact in this one, Teruyuki Kagawa has a supporting role, very popular actor, and you will probably recognize him even if you're not a big fan. So we're 2 for 2 here, in my opinion, in this anthology. Now, the third story, named Inheritance, is a well-made, deliberately paced film that touches upon child abuse in some ways. A woman returns to her childhood home with her son to take care of her elderly mother. However, the mother still resents her for divorcing her husband and breaking up the family, and she tells her that she should just leave and go back to Tokyo. But at night, the boy glimpses the spirit of another young boy whom he eventually learns is related, and this person disappeared a while back, so it's kind of the setup there. I like the setting in this one. There's a traditional Japanese house with lots of wood, and it's located outside of the urban areas and near the trees and mountains. And that environment kind of mirrors the traditional nature of the story itself. This is easily the most conventional, laid-back story within this anthology, but it's still quite good in terms of performances, direction, and script writing. In my opinion, probably not as purely entertaining or even memorable as the previous segments, but it gradually becomes more intense, and the final 15 minutes do have some creepy moments. And this is good. If you prefer classical or moody horror stories, you might enjoy this segment the most, and I have read some reviews online that enjoyed Inheritance more than the others. So that's the thing with anthologies, right? You're going to have some short films that you like better than others, and it's going to depend on your personal taste. But overall, I recommend Unholy Women for those who enjoy horror anthologies that incorporate some humor and creative elements. Currently available streaming on YouTube, and I'll include a link in the description box below. If you've seen this one, let me know what you think. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.